Alright, in that case, I guess we shall wait and see how things will progress. Or we could just go and sneak around Satoko's house and see how things are. I walked forward quite a ways, then turned right where the rice fields ended. I'd never come here before, so I had no idea where to go. I got lost several times, so I may have taken quite a long way around. Maybe I should have gone back home and got my bike first. It would have made everyone else worry if I'd asked them. So I asked one of our other classmates where Satoko's actual house was. That house was originally her family's, apparently, not their uncle and his wife's. Their house had been bigger, so they had taken it for themselves. Right here, several houses all in a line. Over there, I was visiting Satoko's house, but didn't particularly intend to meet her there. I didn't mean to spy on the enemy, her mean uncle either. Maybe I just wanted to be a little closer to her, as her Nini. Pretty words, I didn't know if they were true. If what Tomita-kun and the others told me was right, it'd be this house? When I recognized it, my feet grew heavy. What did I come here for? My motive for coming here was absurd. When Mion had said at the end that we were poor, powerless, it made me sort of frustrated. I just wanted to do something, anything other than waste the days away praying for a miracle. That's what made me come here. That was all. Even if I were to witness her uncle actually tormenting Satoko, what could I do? Would I act like a comic book hero, punch the guy in the face, and take Satoko away with me? If only it were that easy. And then live together somewhere far away? That was ridiculous. Or like a fairy tale in that sense, with that same description. The cicadas' voices, raised in chorus, sounded like they were scoffing at me. As though they were saying that if I couldn't do anything and wouldn't do anything, then I should go back home. I heard a car approaching, so I got out of its way. But the car stopped right behind me, its horn honking shortly once. Annoyed, hadn't I gone another way? I looked behind me, and a familiar face was looking at me out of the driver's seat window. Of course, Oishi would be here. Oh, Irie.
Konnichiwa, Maebara-san. こんなところでお会いするとは本当に奇遇です。お家は近くなんですか?
Me being here wasn't normal. Just as I considered somehow giving him the slip, I noticed Satoko sitting in the passenger seat.
Satoko?
Satoko got out of the car and began unloading a lot of groceries from the trunk.
買い物の帰りに偶然監督にお会いしたんですのよ。送ってくださるというのでお言葉に甘えたのですわ。
自転車でこんなに買い物をしたら運びきれませんからね。
As Coach spoke, he pulled Satoko's bike from out of the back seat, where they put it. The grocery bags were big, and there were 4 of them. They all seemed to be packed full and very heavy.
この袋、セブンスマート？おいおい、自転車で行くにはちょっと遠すぎないか?
Oh my god. She was gonna carry all those heavy bags like all the way by herself. I looked at the bags and saw that they were filled to the brim with sake bottles, snacks that you'd eat with sake, and boxes of cigarettes. Their weight was one thing, but their contents were nothing less than luxury items.
監督のおかげで助かりましたわ。 ちょっと坂道は辛かったですから。
Satoko gave Coach a smile filled with gratitude. But it was incredibly awkward and even heart-rending.
サトコ、この買い物、今晩の晩飯ってわけじゃないだろう
If you can even call this dinner.
当然ですわ。私、お酒なんか飲めませんし、おつまみも嫌いですし、タバコなんか吸うわけ。
He made Satoko go to a distant store by herself on her bike, so she could buy dumb shit like this. What was the uncle doing right now anyway? He must have been working up a good sweat at this very moment if he needed to send Satoko by herself, right? Nah, he's probably watching some TV being a lazy fuck. If not, then how much? How much has Satoko suffered for no reason? I hadn't intended to voice my feelings, but they may have made it into my face. Coach might have noticed, because he clapped me on the shoulder. Just then, one of the house windows clattered open, and the face of a vulgar man, the very sight of which made me immediately avert my eyes, emerged from within it. Let me see the face of this bastard. If you're gonna have courage enough to show your sprite, that is. There are no self-introductions necessary. My gut told me that this was the uncle in question. Like, I want to envision I want to see the face of the person that I want to punch. The first thing out of his mouth should have been words of gratitude for Satoko.
Satoko! 缶のガスかけっぱなしで出よったんな、この。
ごめんなさい。でも、すぐに買いに行けって言ったから。
やかましいわ。せっかくの銀条台無しにしよってん。どうしよってんじゃ。
ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい、ごめんなさい。
Satoko miserably apologized over and over, bowing again and again. She would be perfectly described as a small animal. I had no idea what was happening. Satoko finished shopping for all this heavy stuff that wasn't even for dinner. She only managed to come back because she ran into Coach and he drove her home. If she hadn't been found by him, she'd surely still be by herself, panting and moaning, pedaling her bicycle up that steep hill. What was with those words, those horrible, sleazy words, that he said to Satoko? What country's dictionary did it tell him to say such things? To a young girl who had just finished shopping. My anger, of course, wouldn't reach him. The uncle displayed no interest in me, instead shouting at Coach.
おや、入江の先生じゃないですか。こんにちは。そしたら先生も上がっていきますか。もうオーラスですからすぐ入れますよ。ピンのワンツー、何でもありで。
いえ、遠慮します。さとこちゃんとは偶然お会いしたんで、ちょっとお送りしてあげただけです。すぐに失礼します。
そんな、ちょっとぐらいやっててくださいな。先生お金持ちじゃないですか。
Jesus. I didn't even understand what her uncle and Coach were talking about. But I knew one thing for sure. None of what he just said had been to thank Satoko in any way.
さとこ、とっととカキも持ってこんかい。ビールも冷めてもうた。冷蔵庫から冷えてるの出してくれな。
てっちゃん、娘に厳しすぎや。もうちょい言いたわらんとかわいそうやで。
The fuck? A fug?
あんな娘にはこのくらいでちょうどいいよ。兄貴んちにいた頃からそうでよ。甘やかすと親の言うことをなんも聞かんやっちゃよ。たく。
それよか、てっちゃんの妻だぜよ。
椿さんリーチしよったで。
おお、悪い悪い。なんね。椿、あんたまたリーチかいな。
Yeah, it looked like it wasn't just our uncle. Some of his friends were over. Hey, wait. What was he... No. What were they doing? Flinging rude words left and right, making Satoko go shopping for your beer. What were they doing?
町からおじさまのお友達が来てて、麻雀やってますの。
Yeah, I guess so.
お友達のお夕食もご用意するように言われてますのよ。
なんだよ、それ。
Mahjong? He called his friends over for Mahjong? They were too busy playing, so they sent Satoko to buy them a crap load of booze from a faraway store. And the first thing he said to her was how she left the gas on. What the hell? What the hell?
何やってんだよ、あいつ。麻雀って、そんなのに遊びほうけて、聡子にこんなのを買いに行かせるのかよ。
Even though Coach was listening, he pretended he wasn't. There was a line of heavy-looking shopping bags lined up on the ground next to the trunk.
さあ、前原さんも手伝ってあげてください。ほら、男の子なんですから、こっちの重い袋を持ちましょう。
監督、こんなのまかり通っていいんですか？こんなの絶対に。
Coach pretended he hadn't heard that violent outburst either. When I thought about it later, his reaction might have been the best thing he could do in that situation. Basically.
私も2つ持ちますから。ほら、前原さんも持つのを手伝ってあげてください。
The bags were packed to the brim with bottles of sake and bar snacks. They were so heavy and so filthy, so unfair. They weren't just heavy in terms of weight. They made me feel mortified. Nothing could have been heavier than that.
ケイチさん、無理しないでいいんですのよ。私も持ちますわ。
Here's the least that we can do for now. Here's the least that we can do. Satoko mistook my biting back, the humiliation as grimacing under the weight, and offered to help.
バカ、俺を舐めるな。
Satoko had never looked down on my physical strength in the slightest.
監督もすみませんわね。重いでしょ？
No, not at all, answered Coach, smiling vaguely. Coolly. But I, and I alone, knew. Coach was an adult, so he just knew how to keep his feelings from showing. There was even more anger than I was feeling, burning deep in his eyes.
いや、重いですね。
Shit. Shit! He wasn't very far to the doorsteps of Satoko's house, but the bag squeezed my palms and started leaving red marks. Look at all this heavy stuff. And Satoko had to carry all this. She was gonna carry all this by herself. Fury welled up in me, and the back of my throat stunk. But if it all came gushing out, it wouldn't solve anything. So, just tightly gritting my teeth was as much as I could do.
本当にありがとうございますですわ。監督もケイチさんもおかげで本当に助かりましたでございます。
That face of her, god damn it. Like it hurts. After we carried him to the back door, Satoko said that was enough. Occasionally, we'd hear the repulsive laughing of her uncle and his friends from within, and my insides would seethe. I knew they weren't ridiculing us, and that was why it made me so mad. They made Satoko shop for all this heavy, selfish stuff, then ignored her and laughed amongst themselves as they pleased. It was deeply aggravating. Of course, Coach had to have felt the same way. But if he accidentally let his feelings slip into his face, he only caused Satoko more worry. He knew all that, and spoke coolly, as if to say he didn't care.
いいえ、ささやかでもお力になれたなら幸いです。お手伝いできそうなことがあったらいつでも言ってくださいね。
ええ、お気持ちだけでも本当に嬉しいですわ。
That he feels that way. Those words were sad. Satoko herself was sad and resigned that we could only help her so much. But she was right. No matter how much Coach or I want to help Satoko, this was as much as we could do. I felt absolutely ashamed at not having the power to help her any more than this. Like, I'm getting mad here. I'm getting mad. Burning, boiling emotions were bubbling up within me and rising into my throat, trembling all over. I almost started to cry from my fury.
俺も力になれることがあったらいつでも力を貸すから頑張れよな。
I wanted to at least give her those tried words, saying that I'd help her whenever she wanted.
ええ、ありがとうございますわ。わざわざこうしてここまで来てくださっただけでも嬉しかったですわ。
Satoko seemed to have guessed, what I was doing in a place like this, when my house was in the opposite direction from school.
さあ、もう行った方がよろしいですわ。今は酔っ払ってますから、どんな難癖をつけられるかわかりませんわよ。
I don't really want to. She felt guilty getting us involved. After we'd helped her, because she wanted to be the only one to suffer this misfortune. And that's how I looked, and it hurt. I handed my supermarket bag over to Satoko. And then I noticed on the back of Satoko's hand, there was something that looked like a bruise. You gotta kid me.
おい、サトコ、このあざ、どうしたんだよ。
I knew as much as anyone else how transparent that sounded. I didn't need to hear it from Satoko to know how this bruise came to be.
階段で転んだ時にちょっと打っただけですのよ。気になさらないでくださいませ。
嘘だろ。
Coach nudged me in the back. And then he put his index finger to his mouth, to chide me for being so loud.
本当にありがとうございましたですわ。では明日、学校でお会いできるといいですわね。
そんな話してないだろ。その手のあざはどうしたって聞いてるんだよ。
The evening glow finally got to a point where I could see the other concealed, oval-shaped bruises and traces of swelling. On her neck, and her legs, and other places too. My God.
階段から落ちたんですの。
Oh my God. In the very moment, my violent, rampaging emotions were about to burst their way out of my throat, I found my mouth being tightly clamped down on. Coach was pressing down my mouth from behind, wrapping around me tightly with his hands. Because of that, I couldn't see anything. I could only groan, which I did. And that was all I could do. I needed to expel all the magma sitting deep within me, because otherwise I'd surely explode into a million pieces that very moment. So I groaned, from my mouth, from my whole body, while heat fell in drops from my eyes. I groaned and groaned. I groaned to the point of exhaustion. I wrung absolutely everything out of myself, even having lost my voice. I was still wringing it all out.
気持ちはわかります。わかりますから前原さん。今だけこらえてください。お願いですから、前原さん。
Endure it for now. And then what, huh? What would happen to her? To Satoko? Her body and mind were wounded. She was being made to suffer like this. Can you not even let me howl in vain at it? Is that it, Coach? Are we this powerless? So powerless that we can't even fucking scream from the bottom of our hearts? The voices of the Higurashi made me calm down. I didn't know how long it had been. Satoko abruptly gave a slight bow.
ありがとうございますですわ、ケイチさん。
サトコ。
今、ケイチさんが本当のニーニーみたいに見えました。私の本当のニーニーはいなくなってしまったけど、私にはケイチさんというニーニーがいてくれる。
Of course, sweetie, of course.
そうだ。俺がお前のニーニーだ。お前が辛い時絶対に助けてやるから。ニーニーがサトコをきっと助けてやるからな。
Satoshi Ojo, you fucking idiot. If not now, then when? Satoko, she's never been in more pain in her life. If her Nini doesn't save her now, then when will he? Why did he run away? Why did he abandon her? Why did he leave Satoko behind? You don't have any right to call yourself Satoko's Nini.
俺は逃げないからな。
え？
絶対に逃げない。サトシみたいにお前を見捨てて逃げたりしない。絶対に俺はお前を見捨てない。
Snap. Tears trickled down from Satoko's eyes. And then she narrowed her eyes into a smile.
さよなら、ニーニー。
Satoko took her right hand and awkwardly waved to me.
大丈夫ですわ。今のニーニーので、私、いっぱい力をもらいましたから。大丈夫。明日まで頑張れますから。大丈夫。だから、今日はさよならでございますわよ。
There was no way that I could say bye, see you tomorrow. And then from inside the house came a throaty, disgusting voice.
サトコ、はよ乾きも持ってこんかい。
さあ、ニーニー、早く行ってくださいませ。もう、私は大丈夫ですから。早く。
行きましょう。前原さん。これ以上は、かえってサトコちゃんに迷惑をかけます。
監督、ニーニーのお家は、ちょっと遠いんですの。申し訳ございませんが、送ってあげていただけます？
ええ、わかりました。
Coach grabbed me by my collar, and with strength that I couldn't even imagine him having, started dragging me away. And I, unable to oppose him, started getting farther away from Satoko. She waved her hand to us, expression still dark, and disappeared through the back door. Coach got into the car first, and then turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door around for me.
前原さんの気持ちは痛いくらいにわかります。いえ、前原さん以上にわかるつもりです。でも、今この場だけはこらえてください。
Say, I don't want to ask you. You don't happen to have like a third, even more secret job, right? Maybe something that has to do with childcare, maybe? No? Probably not. Alright, well, I'm definitely gonna be eating like an orange like after this, so that I can calm myself.
あなたの心は確かに伝わりましたから。 だから、こらえてください。でないと。
もう、わかってます。すみません。さっきはありがとうございました。
Ariakey got into the passenger seat. The car accelerated quietly, and Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. We made a wide turn, and then I couldn't see her house anymore. I do have to apologize, CDM. I'm not feeling it. Your AC is surely not that great, to be quite honest. I miss Oishi's AC. But sadly, I'm gonna have to endure even that tragedy as well. Like, right now, he's being a bad person.
え？あなたのお家、そんな遠くなんですか？学校の反対側じゃないですか。
Yeah, basically. Yeah, you're figuring it out. We went, like, far away from our own normal direction to go to Satoko's house. I didn't bother to reply. It would have been hard-pressed to give him an answer as to why I was at Satoko's house. Coach didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent, the only sounds from the gravel spraying over the road as we drove. I remembered how Rena said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko, so that less of the sparks fell onto her.
でも今は、サトシはいない。
はい。残酷ですが、それが事実です。
I mean, it sucks. It sucks that not only are we having a hard time thinking of a way to have Satoko be under a different guardian, but I don't think that we can even do the opposite way around, that we would have another child under the eyes of Teppei. And by that I mean have Keiichi live with Satoko together, so that at least Keiichi would be there for Satoko. We cannot do that. Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said that.
悲しく、あまりに残酷な話ですが、私たちの決意や努力、尽力には限界があります。
For now, that is. It sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satoko could depend on, that was all. He ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted I wouldn't abandon her, and no matter how much Satoko called me Nini, I couldn't do any more than that.
サトシは一体どこに行っちまったんですか？
Right. Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother, Satoshi, he was in a position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. And that was the cold, sad truth of the massive gulf between Satoshi and us.
今頃、どこでどうしているんでしょう。
Satoshi left home. I didn't know why. Maybe it was because of Soyashiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satoko now. At the time Satoko needed him to protect her most, he wasn't here.
どうして今ここにいないんですか？一番守ってやらなければならないこの時に。
お社様のたたりがどうとかいろいろ言われてますが、家出したとしか言えません。
ある日を境に帰ってこないって仲間が言ってました。妹の聡子に書き置き一つ残さずに家出を。
サトシ君はコツコツとアルバイトをしてたんです。聡子ちゃんが当時とても大きなぬいぐるみを欲しがってましてね。結構いい値段らしくて、そのためにアルバイトをいろいろとしていたらしいんです。妹思いの兄でしたからね。おじ夫婦のもとで不憫な生活を強いられている妹に、 少しでも立派な誕生日プレゼントを贈ろうとしているんじゃないかって、みんな囁き合っていました。
In the end, he didn't use his savings for a birthday present for Satoko.
サトシ君がいなくなり、警察がいろいろと調べたら、サトシ君の貯金が当日すべて本人によって下ろされていることが分かりました。方々をいろいろと調べた結果、その貯金を資金に東京の方に行ったんではないかということになりました。
東京？何しに？
家出としか言いようがないじゃないですか。
自分が逃げ出すための資金をコツコツと貯めて、そこまでは勝手ですよ。でも聡子を置いてくことはないじゃないですか。同じ家出するなら聡子も連れて行くべきだった。
Even now, Coach was still calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. He just waited until my anger naturally subsided. For Keiichi to let it all out, I guess. After listening to gravel being crushed under the wheels for a little while, Coach spoke abruptly.
察してください。置いて行かれた聡子ちゃんも同じ考えに至ったんです。
I am a burden on my brother, and that's why he abandoned me. He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satoko have felt, being betrayed by the brother she loved so much.
でも、聡子ちゃんはとても強い人でした。もちろん、親しい友人たちの支えもあってのことでしたが、ああして笑顔を取り戻すことができました。
I recalled how Satoko had spoken of Satoshi so brightly, when I was eating dinner with her and Rika-chan a few days ago. At the time, I didn't think any more of it than how unpleasant their sibling love had been. But now that I did think about it, I realized it was like she was peering into the distance, from atop a pile of tragic perseverance.
サトシ君はきっと帰ってくる。その時までにお荷物じゃなくなった自分を見てほしいって。
聡子はお荷物なんかじゃないですよ。あいつ俺なんかよりよっぽど生活力はあるし、大抵のことは何だってできる。そりゃレナやリカちゃんなんかと比べれば劣る点はたくさんあるかもしれないけど、そこいらのやつよりよっぽど一人前ですよ。
サトシ君がいつ帰ってきてもいいように、そういう風になれるよう努力した結果です。涙ぐましい努力があったんですよ。
While she lived with Rika-chan, while Rika-chan taught her how to handle everything flawlessly. All so that she could welcome back Satoshi at any time. So that she could show him she wasn't ashamed. That she kept it strong all this time. And even learned how to be strong and, learned so much. So that Satoshi would come home and he would see how much Satoko has grown.
で、そのサトシはいつ帰ってくるんですか？
I asked Coach, but he knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. He left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oyashiro-sama's curse gets you, right? Then, that made sense. Satoshi running away and his disappearance. That would obviously mean people thought it was a curse, right? And they could smile, as though it were his own fault, as though he got what he deserved. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, whoever you are, Satoshi didn't vanish because he ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, didn't you? If that's not what happened, then I won't forgive you.
サトシはいつ頃逃げ出したんですか？
去年の綿流しのお祭りの夜、 おばが異常者に殺されて、その数日後のさとこちゃんの誕生日にです。
On her birthday.
さとこの誕生日に？
Hey. Slam my hands on the dashboard in front of me with all my might. God damn it, on her birthday too. Satoshi, of all the days you could have chosen to run away. Their aunt just died a few days before, didn't she? All your days of suffering were about to end, weren't they? You were just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? It's wrong to be happy about someone dying. But for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. Their mean uncle had fled town, and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that on Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return the whole time. Waiting for her brother to return, when he never did. Waiting with bated breath for her brother to return. Her hopes and dreams of a new life to come growing ever larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. He didn't even contact her. Satoko, trembling in anticipation of a great present. Just when would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? Satoshi, you fucking idiot. I could feel my blood rising to my head, in my anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated. I was aggravated. I couldn't forgive him. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her. Such a person who wouldn't just come back, no, when he was most needed. Yes, no one would protect her. Not even her real brother Satoshi.
だから、あなたがニーニーだと認めてもらえて嬉しかったです。
え？
私もさとこちゃんの幸せを祈る一人ですが、社会的立場があり、日中は仕事をしている身です。私がさとこちゃんのために割いてあげられる時間は少ない。でもあなたは違います。学校で生活を共にし、さとこちゃんやさとしくんとも年はほとんど離れていない。あなたは自分ができることに限りがあると思っていますが、それでも私よりはずっとさとこちゃんに手を差し伸べられる場所にいるのです。だから私の分までさとこちゃんの力になってあげてほしい。そう願っています。
そんなことは監督だって。
もちろん年季のある私だからこそできる助けだっていろいろあると思います。同じようにあなたにしかできない助けだってあるということです。私たちは互いにそれを全うすべきだと申し上げたいのです。
We will do our best. Was that a little too complicated? Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult, in a different position from all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it.
あ、監督は法律とか詳しいですか？
いえ、平均的に疎いですが、何か。
I fell back to when I argued with Mion and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument had only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see. But what would an adult think?
児童福祉法でしたっけ？児童の安全を確保するために緊急措置として親子を分離させるという方法があるそうです。
緊急措置？じゃあすぐにサトコをおじの元から救い出せるということじゃないですか？
I mean, if it was easy, it would have been done by now.
サトコちゃんがそれを望まないかもしれません。 虐待されている本人が避難を望まなければ弱いでしょうから。
サトコが望まない？
God damn it. Why?
どうして？
Coach didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day that Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave. So then why? I clamped down on my frenzied emotions and waited intently for Coach to answer. But he never did. It wasn't like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. Like, if I had to say, it was more like he wanted to explain, but couldn't put it into the right words.
サトコちゃんは多分そういういじめに耐えるのを試練だと考えているかもしれません。
Oh my god.
試練？変な宗教じゃあるまいし。
ご存知と思いますが、サトシ君はサトコちゃんをずっとかばってきました。
Well, so you're saying that Satoko is doing this to... so that she would feel better about all those times that Satoshi was protective of her, as sort of payment that Satoko is doing for everything that Satoshi did. That's stupid.
サトコちゃんもずっとサトシ君に頼ってきました。甘えてきたと言うべきかもしれません。
I'd known for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle. But that was his duty as an older brother, not something to worry about.
それがトラウマになったかもしれないんですよ。自分が兄にもたれかかりすぎたから、兄が自分を嫌ってしまったんではないかってね。
Bullshit. And for Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story of a little over a year ago. But this time, Satoshi wasn't here.
だから、誰にも頼らずに自分の力だけで試練を乗り越えたい。
You know, if she wanted to make it a trial, at least she can do so without the abuse and all that. You know, grow to be like a strong girl and all that by herself. Learn to cook by herself. Learn to clean by herself. Learn to be an adult by herself. Not this kind of crap.
そういう力を身につけなければ、サトシ君は帰ってこない。
Abuse doesn't have to be a part of the equation here.
そういう考えになっている。と、私は考えます。
Like, if Satoko really, really loved Satoshi, that meant that Satoshi had a kind heart. Like, I know that Keiichi right over here is being really, really angry at Satoshi for running away, but I do believe in that Satoshi disappeared for a good reason. I don't think that Satoshi would have just run away, like, willingly, leaving his sister, like, behind to suffer like that. Something surely must have happened. So, I don't think that Satoshi ever hated Satoko. Nor do I think that Satoshi would want Satoko to go through this, like, in the first place. Now that you mention it, Satoko had never said a word about how hard that had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it, but...
みんなと相談して、児童相談所とかに通報すべきかなんて話をしてました。
Yeah.
聞いてますよね。
In fact, didn't I say it in passing that maybe one of the reasons why it was difficult to report it in the first place is because... Well, no, that was at that point. I was saying that maybe Satoshi and Satoko were being silent about it in the first place. That's a separate issue from this one. Like, Satoko would be doing this as a trial. But back then... Like, back then, they would have had no reason. They shouldn't be silent. They shouldn't have been silent at that point. If they were if they reported.
昨年も福祉士さんがさとこちゃんのところに行ってるのは。
Yeah.
はい。結局様子見で余計にいじめられたって話も。
Oh my god. I just realized something right over here. We're talking about child protection right over here, and Irie mentioned social worker, you know. I have known from Yumineko that Ryukishi was also a social worker, and it reflects in the story of Rosa and Maria in Yumineko. And I guess same case can be said right over here as well. The story of Satoko and Satoshi and all that stuff with the adults and such. Like, it represents like part of Ryukishi's experience as well.
あれ、さとこちゃんが自分で通報したらしいんです。
Okay.
で、その結果、余計いじめが水面下へ移行してエスカレートした。さとこちゃんに降りかかるいじめも増え、それをかばうサトシ君の負担も著しく増えた。
Oh my god, it makes sense they would traumatize the poor thing. That it is because of her reporting in the first place that it made things worse. So of course, she wouldn't report this, like right now.
ひょっとしてサトコ、それ通報した自分の責任だなんて思ってるんじゃ。
She probably would be thinking that. Coach nodded quietly.
多分、さとこちゃんに通報の話をするととても嫌がるか、その必要はないと強がりを言うと思います。さとこちゃんに内緒で通報したとしても、福祉士に対して自分は虐待を受けていないと言い張るでしょうね。
Satoko always acts tough and doesn't really admit defeat. So I could imagine that easily.
一応、児童相談所には裁判所の許可も当事者の許可も一切不要で緊急措置ができる強い権限があるんだそうです。虐待が公然の事実なら、さとこちゃんが否定しても身柄は強制的に保護されるでしょう。それはさとこちゃんにとっては負けを意味するものなのかもしれませんが。
勝ち負けの問題じゃないですよ。さとこは現実に。
話を折りますが、身柄が保護されると養護院等の施設に送致されます。そうするとですね、そこで暮らすことになるので、つまり引っ越しということになります。
Oh my god. I guess, like, where is this place? Like, where would the orphanage be? Would it be really far away from Hinamizawa? Yeah, I guess so. If this were to happen now, that would mean moving away from Hinamizawa, therefore losing sight of her friends. Of Rena and Mion and... Oh. Especially Keiichi. Her Nini.
ですから、学区変更で転校にもなります。
転校は仕方ないです。それであいつが保護されるなら。
さとこちゃんはその辺の事情も知っています。だからますます保護を望みません。
どうして？
あの家でサトシ君の帰りを待つのがさとこちゃんの生きる理由だからですよ。
Yeah, there's that too.
兄に捨てられ廃人同然になりかけた少女が何に生きる理由を見出したか。あなたのでなくさとこちゃんの価値観で考えてあげてください。
I felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard to understand, roundabout way of talking so unique to adults. The point was that I couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house, and that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying to wait and see.
俺はわかりませんよ。
はい。
俺は本当に里子が危ないと感じたら誰の意思も聞かずに通報します。その結果里子は不快な思いをして俺を恨むことがあるかもしれないけど、最終的にはそれが里子の幸せにつながると信じます。
Coach turned to me and gazed fixedly into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked at what such a young kid had said.
どうしてあなたはそこまで。
I mean, it's obvious, Coach. No, rather, normal adults might not have understood. So I taught him the creed and the values that I believed in.
里子は俺の仲間だから。そして俺は里子のニーニーだから。では理由は足りませんか？
Yeah, true. I mean, you said it yourself. Look at it from her perspective. Well, also think about Keiichi's perspective here. I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as steel as his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest.
いえ、足りないなんてことはありません。
We were silent for a little while, until finally, Coach said only that.
誓ったじゃないですか、俺たち。
すみません。
里子を絶対に泣かせないって。
We made a vow on that day of the barbecue party. I didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise. I mean, I do think that you are a good person, Irie. I do strongly believe that you care about Satoko as well. So I say that we should work together on this. I don't know about the wait and see kind of method. I still think that there's gotta be some way that we can help Satoko in this. That we will never let Satoko cry. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologizing for not remembering. One way or another, when he grinned like that, it made me think that his enthusiasm for saving Satoko was a tiny bit smaller than mine. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and my whole body suddenly fell forward.
ひょっとして前原さんのお家ってあれですか？ああ、前原屋敷が前原さんのお家だったんですね。
Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. Well, why are you so shocked about it, Mr. Irie? Do you have something in your mind when it comes to this house? Whew, what a day. Case file 31. Alright, well. Yeah, I do have to wonder what this case file is about. December 1, 1981. December? Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division Report. Ah, I see. So it's about child protection here. Do not view. Do not duplicate. Case 31, November 20. Satoko Hojo. X years old. Residence, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. Consultation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that a female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents, her guardians. Family structure. Marks abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. In June 1980, the child's parents died in an accident, and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the anonymous telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. The next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adopted parents agreed to the center's coaching. Contacted anti-abuse network in the city. As part of this suggested coaching, a distinct welfare officer in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. The scroll now below is stapled to report. Related information from former official Mr. W. Mr. W. Referred to 1977 document D23 number 44. Ask Chief Investigator F from the city's education consultation offices. He is well informed about it. Okay. Some interesting documentation there. I went home and watched the day sweat off in the shower. Yeah, it surely was a long day, Keiichi. Normally, I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things. But that didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally, I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. And then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate, and she would stubbornly deny the abuse, and try to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess one way of going at it would be to convince Satoko otherwise. Somehow. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I would do what I had to. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out. But I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi-maibara. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Say that I reported it to a public agency, like the Child Consultation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year, they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily. But then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. Not only did it happen like last year, but I think it sort of happened in 1980 as well, according to that case file. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year, it was her uncle. I had just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt. No, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. And it's not like he's even trying to hide in the first place. Like one look at Satoko and we'll clearly see signs of abuse. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Satoko's body. Shit. You're too naive, Keiichi-maibara. However, Ariakey may seem to report what's happening. If it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. Reporting things to a public agency wasn't only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed that I hadn't realized it until Rena said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw thatched roofs in Hinamizawa, it was really, really big. We did actually have empty rooms. I've never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. Yeah, it is a good point. It brings me back to that whole thing that Oishi said about how he knew the Maebaras, and that they were quite the well-known people, according to him. I just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job come and stay every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad uses for storage, they could work for her as well. I mean, you know, this brings up a point that I'm trying to think about this. Whose house did this belong to before? I mean, it's not like Keiichi's parents built this from the ground up. No, it must have been here. And someone lived here before us. Someone moved out and we moved in. No, I mean, this isn't... I mean, Satoko has the main house, which, you know, in retrospect, that was the house where the aunt and uncle lived, right? That would be considered the main house, where Satoko would wait for her brother to come back. But does this mean that there was a completely separate other house where the original parents of Satoko and Satoshi lived in? I mean, it would be funny if this was actually the house. Like, this is the house where the original parents and Satoko and Satoshi lived, and then the parents died and they had to move in with the aunt and uncle to that new house that we know of, and the rest is history. Again, going back to the parallelism with Satoshi and Keiichi being on the same. They would live in the same fucking house, apparently. As for food expenses, that might have been a more serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Then again, this house is pretty big. It kind of tells you that this belonged to a rich family. And from what I know, like, the Hojos, they weren't the most influential. Like, they needed the money, that's for sure. Reason why they went and even agreed with the damn construction and became enemies of the village and such. They did need the money as well. Therefore, they wouldn't be living in a house like this. So, lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone picking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that will have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. About how much did this cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more, thanks to New Year gifts and such. But my parents had taken all that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. Right now. And if I got that far, I should ask Mion and Randall to share some of the burden. Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Rana got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. And I have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it. Oh, but it wouldn't be only food expenses. There were a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies. And for once, that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. I couldn't think only about food expenses. I needed more money. We do need a lot of money right now. Stop it. Hey, wait, Keiichi. Since when was all this about money? Even if you could afford it, you would need your parents' permission first. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Man, if I'm thinking about a parallel between Satoshi and Kei... Stop it! I probably shouldn't think about that kind of stupid theory, but hypothetically speaking, if I am to think about that crazy tinfoil hat theory about Satoshi and Keiichi being one and the same, the parents would have some connection to Satoko as well. What would their reaction be to Keiichi telling them to have Satoko be part of the family as well? Kinda curious about that. What their reaction would be. Anyway, just forget about that. Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maibara, and you'll realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maibara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? Yeah, they'd have to go through all that legal and questioning crap and all that. And they might make the same mistake. And forgetting about that theory, the Maibara family, they're still new in this village. They just arrived in this village as a new family of the Hinamizawa village. Like them trying to still transition to this new lifestyle and such. Not to mention that they have their own jobs and they leave a lot of times for Tokyo or whatever business they have, leaving Keiichi alone. They have their own jobs. Adding another child to the equation? And that's what would happen. And that was it. It was very sad and frustrating. But no matter how much I wanted to help, my resolution alone couldn't save anything.
そんなにも子供って無力なのかよ。
I felt frustrated. I believed my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's. And yet, at that point, there were 2 knocks at my door, and Mom poked her head inside.
起きてたの？さっきからご飯ってずっと呼んでるわよ。
あ、 今行く。
As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing, and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that natural thing was actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for free on the table right now. For Dad, for Mom, and for me. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place at the table. I mean, there are 4 chairs at the table, so... 4 chairs at the table. Mom, Dad, Satoshi, and Stop it! Stop with the parallel theory, goddammit. Think, Keiichi, my brother. If it was hard to make food for 4, just think about how 4 people could eat food made for free. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I didn't need to get my parents' permission. She would just live here in secret. I guess. I got upset when I found out about Akko. But if I remember right, if you climb down the window then shimmy down the first floor roof of the guard, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Satoko's physical ability far surpassed my own, so it would be even easier for her. I didn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. I didn't have to bring Satoko to my house when the public agency said they would wait and see. In other words, if Satoko's uncle continued to be her guardian, if in such a situation word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was her rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without any argument, no doubt. So, I needed to keep it a secret that she was living here. If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents' help would mean a lot, but gotta save your ass first, like they always say. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the 2nd floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. Yeah, that's one problem. She has to go to school. If she's secretly hiding here, then that means that if she were to go to school, then some people were gonna ask about her disappearance. And then Satoko will be dragged back to her house with the uncle. So that will mean that she wouldn't have to go to school either. So that will mean that everybody would think that Satoko disappeared this year. It might be lonely, but not going would be a better option. I could easily teach Satoko the stuff she learns in her grade. Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. During the day, I would need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around in my room while I was gone. At least I think. If she holed herself up in my room, you would be okay, right? If my parents did come, thanks to where the 2nd floor was, she could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. And there would be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds. That she would be able to hide herself in a closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what she'll do for lunch? Calm down already. I could just leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? God damn it. Hold on a second. Hold on. Where's the stupid log? Parallel Fury. I should just go to school without lunch and get everyone else to split theirs with me. Okay, that's good. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Oh, breakfast and dinner. I could somehow get her to go without breakfast. I can go with 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays, after all. Every night, I pretend as though I had a bigger appetite, then ask for a bigger helping. And then I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. Keiichi, I don't know about this. Like, when I look at what you're thinking right over here, it kind of brings me back to that that topic of how we shouldn't think of Satoko as a pet, as an animal that we're hiding from our parents, because that's how it feels like. I don't know. It is an option, though. As a test, I stood up from my seat, with a plate of fish in my hands.
どうしたの、ケイチ。ご飯は座って食べなさい。
うん。ちょっと気分が変えたくなってさ。自分の部屋で食べてもいいかな。
ボロボロ落として汚すぞ。食事は食卓で食べなさい。
うん。ごめん。
Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish. And they ganged up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to snuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. I opened the closet. Clap, clatter. It didn't open quietly. Hey, wait. Didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it always showing signs of dilapidation? Or were the hinges just not greased well enough? Could I just apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. But this was an easy problem. I could do something about it. I just had to fix it up a little bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I closed myself in the closet as though I had successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. I couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. I might need to construct some sort of camouflage so that she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. But the more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide. Meaning it would be more than likely they'd hear noise. I mean, CKG, I don't think that this is something that Satoko would even agree with to begin with, because she still has that whole mentality of how she's waiting for her brother to come back home, to that one home where her uncle is. If she's here hiding, especially in this dark closet or whatever here, she will be far away from when Satoshi would eventually come back. It's less about, like, let's say that we are gonna try to apply this. I think the most important thing would be for us to actually convince Satoko of us doing this in the first place. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to follow your plan here, Keiichi. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? The need to use the toilet. So obvious, and it's such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. A portable toilet? Like a chamber pot? I guess Satoko would hate it. So she could go in my room. But the stench, it would be pretty terrible. Again, a portable pot like a freaking dog or something. The bath was okay too. The bath was okay though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about the toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, if my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed that I'd been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in them and tore at my hair. The more I fought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I fought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. And if I was to shelter Satoko, I would need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place forever. But it would still be better than being abused by her uncle. Or so I wanted to think. And it got hard to breathe. So I gave in and crawled out of the closet. Yeah. Tried to think from Satoko's perspective how it would feel to live in that closet. I mean, you only lasted like, what, 2 or 3 minutes there? Or something? Imagine how it would feel for her. Especially since she's thinking about her Nini of Satoshi. I looked at a clock, and to my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. I'm sorry, what? I felt like so little time, but it was so unbelievably long. How long have it stayed there? When I realized that, I was stabbed with a terrible urge to sleep as if the time had only just caught up with me. I didn't have enough strength to fight it, and I fell flat onto my futon. Shit. I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I needed to keep worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute, or even a second longer, than everyone else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around and around in a spiral. Instead, it took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought. There were a lot of blind spots in what I consider fault tonight. But I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow, I will suggest this bold plan to the others. Mion might be able to help somehow. And Rena was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. And above all, we needed to rescue Satoko once again, with everyone helping out.